Welcome back to On the Hook with Dylan, the places, faces, and tales of Myrtle Beach seafood. Today, we're taking a great local favorite, Triggerfish, and kicking it up South Carolina style with some local crab meat and a citrus cream sauce.
Hi, I'm Dylan Foster, and I love seafood. I've been in the Myrtle Beach area for more than 15 years, and since then, my life has revolved around seafood. From cooking and catching it, to serving and selling it, I've done just about everything you can do in this industry. So come and join me as we tour the places, faces, and tales of Myrtle Beach seafood. This is On the Hook.
Now, if you missed our episode of where we cut this beautiful local fish, make sure you watch that again because we've got lots of tips and tricks for you there at home to make the same dish in your kitchen. So, let's take our triggerfish and we're gonna season it gently but completely with our house seasoning. And this is our house blend. We wanna make sure we got seasoning on every last inch of these awesome fillets. Just like that. Beautiful. Flip them back over. And now we're gonna take this to the side and we're gonna get our prep ready for our sauce. So for the sauce, we're doing that citrus cream sauce. We're gonna start with a yellow sweet onion. I just like to take the top and the bottom off to start there. Put those aside. I like to split it in half first and then I peel it. It makes it way easier to peel once it's in half. And also, when it's in half, you have a nice solid, safe surface to dice that onion up. So we're gonna just dice this onion and then come back through the other way, getting a nice, even, small, almost a mince on that onion. We wanna make sure it's really nice and fine because we want this onion to kind of melt away into our sauce. We don't want big chunks of onion into our sauce. We want the flavor, we want the essence of the onion and not necessarily the chunks of onion. So we'll put that to the side. And that's almost all the prep we have, folks. The only thing left is to just take these little green onions or scallions. If you don't have green onions, you could use parsley, dried or fresh, up to you, or chives. Chives would work nicely here. So we're just gonna really finely get some nice shaved green onion. This is gonna give us a hint of nice onion flavor, but more importantly, it's gonna make our sauce really have that pop of that green color, which is gonna be nice, because we all know you eat with your eyes first. So just finish those up. Ooh, got a big piece in there. All right, that should be enough for our sauce. Now, if you come on over here to the stove, we'll get the sauce ready. We're gonna start with some butter. Now, I like to use unsalted butter for a couple of reasons. One, I like to control the salt level in my sauce, but also unsalted butter is made with a higher quality of cream. They don't tell you that in the store. But salted butter is made with a slightly lower grade of cream, so the unsalted stuff is a more premium product. All right, so our butter's nice and melted here. To our butter, we're gonna add a little bit of minced garlic, and then some of our diced or minced white or sweet onion. Go right into that sauce, and remember, we minced those up really fine, so we're just gonna have an essence of the onion in our sauce. We don't necessarily wanna have a lot of big chunks of onion in that sauce. So in a couple minutes, those onions are gonna cook down. The garlic and the onion are gonna really come together and meld with that butter. It's gonna be really delicious. And you're gonna start to see the color start to change on these onions. They're gonna kind of go from a white to almost a clear consistency, or translucent is the word that we use in the business. So we're translucent. So we're just sauteing those onions and garlic together. And when you start to smell the garlic, that's when it's ready, because there's only one way to fix burnt garlic, and that's to throw it away and start again. There's absolutely no way to fix a burnt garlic taste out of a dish. These onions and garlic are just continuing to saute here. They're nice and translucent here. If you look, you can see the color has changed on those onions. All right, and that's just what we want. They are gonna continue to cook as we put this heavy cream in and our white wine. We're gonna deglaze with some white wine. They are gonna continue to cook, so that's exactly what we want. So we'll take our white wine here, just a plain white wine, whatever you have in your house. This happens to be a Chardonnay. We might get a little fire here, so settle down. We're just gonna deglaze here with our white wine. And so what that's doing is bringing off all of those burnt on or caramelized bits from the bottom of that pan. And we're just gonna have that nice fruity, acidic wine taste because all the alcohol will burn off and cook off. We don't need to worry about that. So that's gonna reduce down to almost nothing. Okay, so our onions are nice and translucent. See how they just kind of melted away, and all of that white wine, that Chardonnay, has deglazed and evaporated out of that pan, leaving us with just the hint of the acidity, which is what we were looking for. Now we go in with the heavy cream. So this heavy cream goes right into the dish or into the saute pan, and this is gonna start thickening up as it boils. And watch it very closely, because as it boils, it could start to boil over, so we don't want to do that. And if it starts to bubble up and boil over, we'll just pick it up off the heat, let everything calm down, and then bring it back down to the heat as we need. Now to this, let's add a little bit more acidity and some color. So we'll start off by just zesting some lemon right here into the sauce before it starts to boil. Now when you're zesting lemons, be very careful not to get into the bright white, whoa, slippery lemons. Make sure you don't get into the bright white part of that lemon, lime, orange, whatever you're zesting. The white part is called the pith, and it is very bitter, and it will ruin any dish that you put it in. So I'm using a microplane, just a very small abrasive tool. This is good for all kinds of citrus, some even seasonings and some spices like nutmeg. This works really well with nutmeg. The thing about these microplanes are, though, they work really well with citrus, they work really well with nutmeg, but if you're not careful with them, they work really well with knuckles too. So be very careful when you're using anything this sharp so you don't hurt yourself. So we'll put some of that lemon zest in, and you can see our heavy cream is starting to boil now, and as it's boiling, it's thickening, and all of those flavors are coming together. So we'll just keep stirring that and whisking it so that we're not going to boil over. But as it cooks and as it boils, all of the flavors are going to combine. So you scrape the sides of that pan to get any of that flavor left from the onions, the garlic, the white wine. It's all in the pot here. We want to make sure it all goes into that cream sauce. So it's going to continue to work here, bubbling, and as it's bubbling and as it's boiling, you're going to see that the bubbles actually change. They go from really small bubbles and kind of bouncing all around, so as it's getting to the consistency that we want, a little thicker, they actually slow down and they get a little larger. And instead of being all crazy and wild like my sons, they kind of chill out and they start flowing like this, and they bigger bubbles and they move a little slower. So that's visually what we're looking for here in the pan. And it's starting to bubble up over the top, so we'll just pick it up off the heat and let everything calm down, back down. And you can see the bubbles are starting to slow down. They don't necessarily come right up and pop. They slow down and maybe sit on the surface a little longer than they were doing in the very beginning. Whoa, a little over the edge, man overboard. It's okay, we got plenty left. And so what we're looking for is what the French called nappe. So to check for that consistency, and we'll check it now, I'll show you, we're not quite there yet, but we're gonna dip a metal or a wooden spoon, whatever you have, into the back, and we're gonna then draw a line across it, and we're looking for it to sit up. And you see it's still dripping down just a little bit, so we're not quite there, but we are close. And if you look there, you can see the bubbles, like I was saying, are now starting to slow down and getting a little thicker. So that is what we're looking for, and we are very close to game time on our sauce. Another little bit, and we'll be good. And I'm actually gonna pull this off the heat, because we're gonna come back in and finish that right before we finish our fillets. And that's what we're doing now. So let's bring our big pan in here, and we'll start getting this warm under the heat. And to saute these, we're gonna take a little bit of oil. I use vegetable oil whenever I'm sauteing seafood. Olive oil is great for a lot of things, roasts and marinades and those kinds of things. But olive oil has a really low smoke point, so anytime I'm sauteing something on a high heat, such as these beautiful triggerfish fillets, I'm gonna go with a vegetable oil because it's got a much higher smoke point, and it's not gonna break down nearly as fast as an olive oil. Olive oil is great with flavor and heart health benefits, but the second that that gets too hot, all of those benefits go out the window, and you're left with a product that's gonna make your food stick to the pan, and B, it's gonna burn and brown really quickly. So, like I said, we're gonna start with a vegetable oil. Any brand works, any brand that you like works for that. Whatever you have in your pantry will be just fine. No need to get particular or picky. And that will come to temperature, and then we'll get ready to saute our triggerfish fillets before we top them with our crab meat. Throw them into the oven, get a nice caramelization on that crab meat, a nice brown on that crab meat, top it with our delicious sauce, and then we're having lunch. All right, so we've got our vegetable oil here in the pan. It's nice and hot. Now let's talk about oil and make sure it's hot. So visually, you can see it, and if you get right in here, you can see that oil has kind of a ripple effect to it. Without touching the pan or moving the pan at all, you see that oil kind of has a little bit of movement. So that's the first thing to look for. The second thing to look for is just the sound. So listen, we're listening for a nice high-pitched sizzle. Just like that. That's how we know we're ready to go, folks. So without further ado, fish goes in. We're gonna use the top side of that fillet first, or in the business, we call this the presentation side. That's the side that you, as the customer, are gonna see first. So that's the side we're gonna cook first, because that's when our pan is nice and clean and our oil is nice and clean. So that goes in to the pan, and then we're gonna give it a little shimmy shake and make sure that we're not stuck on anything, okay? And that is gonna get a nice sear now on this fillet. And we have now a nice oil barrier between the fish and the hot pan, and that's gonna make sure that we don't have any sticking fillets. Let's go ahead and add our second fillet. So we got a lot of people to feed here for lunch. Second fillet goes down in, get that shimmy shake going. Make sure we're creating that nice oil barrier between the product and the hot pan, and that way we're not gonna get any sticking fish. Nobody likes a piece of fish sticking to the pan, right? And that's gonna take a couple of minutes to cook. We're gonna cook about 3 to 4 minutes on this side. Then we're gonna flip it over and cook it for another 3 to 4 minutes on the other side. And that time depends on how thick or thin your fillet is. I try not to tell people exact times on how to cook a fish because it's more visual. And as you can see, this fish, you can see fish cook as it's coming through. It's gonna go from a nice opaque or grayish color to a nice white color of the fish, and that's what we're looking for. You can actually watch it cook as it's going. You can watch it, that white line move up through. So that's what we're looking for here. And it's gonna take a couple of minutes depending on the thickness of your fillet, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes now. We're gonna flip this fillet over and check it. Now when you're flipping it, be very careful that you're not gonna splash. Oh boy, look at that golden brown color. Let's get this one over and then we'll take a nice look. Look at that. Oh, fire. Look at that, some nice golden brown. You see the caramelization on the crust there. Absolutely amazing. That's exactly what we're looking for there. So on top of these fillets, as they're finishing cooking here, we're gonna finish on the back side and we'll watch that go. We're gonna take some lump blue crab meat. Now we have amazing blue crabs, not only here in our inlet and Myrtle's Inlet, but all up and down the coast and in the inlets and canals of South Carolina. So Georgetown has some amazing crab meat. Myrtle's Inlet has amazing crab meat. They got amazing crab meat on the northern coast of South Carolina. It's just a really great luxury that we're blessed to have here locally. So we're gonna take some lump blue crab meat and we're just gonna top it right here. Now you could do a lot with crab meat. Crab meat is extremely versatile, but for this dish, we want to highlight the essence and the simplicity of the local crab meat as well as the local triggerfish. So we're just gonna top that on our fillets and it's gonna heat up as those fillets are cooking. We're gonna season it with a touch of Old Bay. Being from Maryland, I have to use Old Bay on crab meat or they don't let me back in the state if I ever wanna go home and see my family. And we'll add a little bit of color to that crab meat, a little bit of those green onions that we cut earlier, right on top, just like that. So this comes off to the side. We'll finish that off as it's working. Now let's go back in here to our sauce. We're gonna bring our sauce right back up to temperature. Look at that, look at that. It has really thickened up, really made a beautiful consistency there. You can still see some of the onions and the garlic, but they are nice in there. So let's check our back of our spoon. And that's what we're looking for. That's nappe, that's what we're looking for. That sauce is nice and rich and thick in there. So we're good to finish it off at this point. So that's gonna come right back up to temperature. And the lemon that we zested earlier, we just used the exact same lemon. Why waste it? We're gonna use the entire lemon. And we're just gonna squeeze that lemon right there into that sauce. We wanna add that citrus there, but we don't wanna add the seeds. So catch those seeds in your hands. There's all the seeds. I found them. The seeds are catching in my hand, and this lemon juice is going right there in. Now you wanna, anytime you're seasoning with citrus like this, a lemon juice or anything like that, you always wanna wait till the end. All right, if you put that lemon juice right in, if we put it in right with the cream in the very beginning, all of that bright, fresh citrus flavor that we love, those aromatics, they'll all disappear by the time the dish is finished. By the time the sauce is finished, all of those beautiful aromatics and that citrus scent and flavor will disappear. So you want to add it right at the end and let it finish into the sauce. And you see that coming together quickly. We're going to add the rest of our green onions that we cut earlier. And you'll see this sauce from a boring cream to a not so boring, beautiful lemon cream sauce that you'd be amazed they're delighted to have at any local restaurant, which there's several local restaurants up and down the Grand Strand where you can get either this exact dish or something very similar, sometimes even better than what I'm doing here in my kitchen. But those guys are there, and we have some extremely talented chefs here in the area that I get to call my colleagues. So I'm blessed to have that opportunity to work with those guys and girls every day, and when I do have the opportunity to do it. So that sauce is getting nice and thick there. You can see it finishing up. Look at that. Beautiful. So that is just gonna finish really nicely on the stove. Now let's get to plating. Okay, so we have our triggerfish nice and sauteed there. Now let's get this on the plate. Gently pull this up. So these are really fragile once they get cooked. So we'll put them right like that on one. Now on two. Here we go. There we go. Beautiful. Pan will go over here. Now one last time, let's check our sauce. We'll add a little bit of pepper and a touch of salt. Let's get that. You gotta taste it. Always taste your food before you serve it. Not only is it for the benefit of your customers or your family, but it's really kind of one of the benefits of the job. So, a little taste here. Huh. We did okay, folks. We did just fine on that sauce. Here we go. Just to finish, that cream sauce right over top. Got the sweetness of the cream, the sweetness of the triggerfish, the sweetness of the crab meat, balanced with a little bit of kick from the Old Bay, as well as the kick and the heat from our house seasoning. We're really gonna have a nice balance of flavors there. And on top of it all, you add the citrus and the herb and the notes, the acidity from the citrus. Got a really nice balanced dish here. So on top of our cream sauce, we're gonna take a little bit of microgreen for a final garnish. Just kind of put a little microgreen there. Always garnish your dish because we eat with our eyes first. There you go. And we'll finish off with a nice little one more kick of that fresh citrus squeeze right over top, just to balance it and giving that last little bit of freshness there. And that's lunch, folks. Amazing South Carolina triggerfish with some beautiful inlet blue crab meat with that citrus and garlic beurre blanc or cream sauce. There you go, lunch of the kings. Don't forget to join us next time on the Hook with Dylan, where we explore the places, faces, and tales of our amazing South Carolina Myrtle Beach seafood. Join us next time, folks.
Beach easy.